She stepped off the bus in the blistering afternoon sun of April 5, 2011. María Cash, a 29-year-old psychology student dressed in black skinny jeans and red canvas sneakers, clutching a single-sheet flyer with her mother's handwritten phone number. Gliding past shuttered storefronts in the northern Buenos Aires neighborhood of San Isidro, she headed toward a plastic surgery consultation scheduled in the next district. But that appointment never happened. Instead, the pulse of that afternoon beat briefly, then stopped. No one saw what happened next. No alarm sounded. No cry for help. When a stranger discovered her abandoned cell phone 2 weeks later, cracked screen, home screen still lit, its battery dead but her face frozen on the last selfie she ever took, the unease began. Who was the girl in the frozen screen? A daughter, a student, an emergent psychologist with dreams and ambitions, gone without a trace. Her disappearance was quiet but deafening. A missing person turned national obsession overnight. Yet something deep beneath that still surface rattled a fundamental fear, that the things we most trust, our neighbors, our routine, our own choices, can vanish in an instant and leave only questions that burn forever. María Eugenia Cash was born in 1981 into a middle-class family in San Martín, Buenos Aires. A bright student, enthusiastic traveler, she earned a scholarship to study psychology and aspired to open a clinic for vulnerable youth. Her warm laugh echoed in bustling cafeterias. Her friends described a girl full of empathy but driven and independent. Yet beneath her optimism lay a growing anxiety about her appearance. In January 2011, she confided in her mother that she'd booked a cosmetic consultation just to feel better, a casual remark that would become her last. The flyer she held on April 5 was from that consultation. Investigators later uncovered that she'd intended to cross the city via Uber, confident in her route, unaware that stepping out that bus would place her on a path from which she'd never return. That same morning, Maria called her mother, casual but calm, "I'll be back by evening," her tone untroubled. Then the call cut off. Her phone last pinged at 2 p.m. near San Isidro. After that, nothing. For her family, the absence became a haunting presence. Doubts crept in. Was she too trusting? Or had she learned things that made someone want her silent? The afternoon of her disappearance, a subtle tension permeated the streets. Low afternoon traffic, hawkers packing up tables, distant church bells marking 2 p.m., the ordinary rhythm of life. But somewhere Maria's path diverted into the invisible. Investigators now reconstruct a trail of small clues: the bus ride, her text message to a friend asking if the consultation required a deposit, the receipt timing mismatch later found at the clinic, her Uber trip that never arrived. On city CCTV she appears calm, walking normally, head down, earbuds in, but behind her calm countenance, an invisible shadow may have followed. Nothing about that tourist-like frame hinted at peril, until the clinic security footage revealed she never showed up. Instead, her phone was sold to a street vendor near Retiro Station 2 days later. Street traders remembered a woman matching her description offloading the device for a few pesos. That device was never seized as evidence at the clinic, and vanished again from vendor inventories. Each lead grew colder, evidencing not a kidnapping spree but something eerily tailored, a removal by someone who understood her route, her intentions, her patterns. If Maria moved only half confidently through the city, someone moved more assuredly, waiting to reroute her life. Detectives from the Domestic and Gender Violence Unit pieced together a painstaking investigation. They retraced her planned routes, secured Uber manifest logs, and monitored second-hand phone markets across the city. They interviewed dozens of witnesses: an Uber driver who recalled Maria canceling en route, a mall security guard who thought they saw her crying, a neighbor who recalled a white SUV parked near her building that afternoon. Forensic analysts examined the cell phone's micro-receipt of a tipped SIM change, its ghost signals pointing to a phone chop shop near Constitution Station. Meanwhile, detectives uncovered a dangerous network of underground phone traffickers, matchmakers, and plastic surgery brokers, some legal, most not. A breakthrough came when forensics froze degraded audio from her WhatsApp voice memo, amplifying a muted background sound resembling a revving engine followed by a male voice whispering, inaudible, but enough to justify intensifying phone metadata searches. A geographic profiler traced a unique ping signature pattern to a defunct parking lot nearby. Surveillance there caught a solitary figure carrying a bundled tarp, wild-eyed and hurried at 4 a.m. 2 hours later, debris from her cosmetic flyer was found, blood-flecked and soaked, drifting beside tire tracks. Now, the case was no longer the story of a lost student, it was evidence of calculated abduction. But by then, investigators feared they were already fighting against the erasure of evidence, erased witnesses, and one truth: whoever snatched Maria intended her to vanish completely. In 2012, the country's top newspapers splashed her face on front pages. Protests erupted outside governmental offices, urging a full task force. The president assigned a special prosecutor. But after months of intense activity, suspects were questioned but never charged. No arrests. No verdicts. Meanwhile, the trafficking ring morphed, phone shop stores shut, vendors disappeared, police presence thinned. Her mother remained an unrelenting voice, speaking at rallies, in news interviews. "They stole my daughter's voice, but I will not stop speaking for her." Social media pages amassed tens of thousands of followers, keeping Maria's image alive pixel by pixel. International agencies joined. Interpol issued red notices for stolen cell phones from that area. NGOs launched safety campaigns for women traveling for appointments. But even as the buzz grew, so did the frustration. No one was held accountable. The cold, hard void in her family's living room remained filled only by her absence. Granting interviews, the prosecutor admitted political pressure had interfered. "We had theories, but not bodies. We had permissions, but no warrants." Calls mounted for phone tap laws to protect vulnerable women. And slowly, public outrage faded into a whispered resignation. The mystery that gripped an entire city turned into a grim case study on disappearances in plain sight. When justice is overwhelmed by bureaucracy, evidence evaporates, and time buries clues. Now, a decade later, new digital leads spark faint hope. A small team of cyber investigators has unearthed a deep web forum where a user posted a photo of a red sneaker matching Maria's 2 weeks after she disappeared. The photo metadata seemed genuine. Timestamp and geolocation point to an isolated estancia west of Buenos Aires. Could the forensic enhanced image be the final lead? But authorities remain tight-lipped. Her family has publicly offered a reward for any clue, an act of desperation born of enduring grief. Meanwhile, conspiracy theories run rampant. Was Maria taken by someone inside the cosmetic clinic network? Or was she stolen for other reasons? Revenge? Blackmail? Trafficking? The investigation remains open, but every official statement ends the same: insufficient evidence. The void echoes. And the deeper moral wound surfaces. In a city of routine, how did Maria vanish on a day that felt ordinary, even expected? At what point did one choice, taking that bus, trusting that ride, become the moment she ceased to be seen, and ceased to exist? Now as the sun sets again over San Isidro, questions outnumber answers. Why no arrests? Why no body? Why do we treat disappearances that begin with everyday errands as tragic stories and not tragedies that demand justice? The system that solves bombings sometimes fails abductions. The law that prosecutes murder breaks at the cracks of paper bureaucracy. And the society that sees protests eats news, but forgets photos. For Maria, there is no closure. For her family, grief persists in echoes. But today that deep web hint pulses with possibility, and possibly peril. Because if someone holds the final clue, they also hold the final truth. And truth without accountability is not justice, it is silence. Even after a decade of María Cash vanishing into thin air, the echoes of that disappearance still haunt Argentina. From national headlines to deep web forums, her name continues to surface like a ghost refusing to rest. In the wake of a digital trace that hinted at a rural location west of Buenos Aires, a specialized team of cyber investigators reignited the dormant case. Their focus, a single photo of a red sneaker posted anonymously to a restricted forum known for illicit trafficking chatter. The shoe matched the one Maria was last seen wearing, canvas, red, worn at the toe. Its metadata suggested it had been taken 2 weeks after her disappearance. The location, a private estancia in La Pampa province. This clue, faint yet promising, pushed investigators to pursue an unofficial line of inquiry. With no warrant and limited jurisdiction, they turned to satellite surveillance archives, comparing vegetation patterns and building layouts from the photograph against rural databases. After weeks of analysis, a visual match emerged, a secluded compound surrounded by fields and shielded by tree lines. Its main structure was a disused farmhouse, sold 4 years earlier under a false identity. The buyer's trail led to a synthetic alias used in offshore transactions linked to underground cosmetic surgeries and unlicensed rehabilitation centers. This was not a home, it was a front. In July 2023, an independent NGO assembled a 3-person reconnaissance unit to approach the site under the pretense of wildlife documentation. What they found was chilling. The farmhouse was abandoned, but traces of recent occupancy remained: food wrappers, medical packaging, a rusted stand, and several burn pits filled with shredded documents. Among the debris lay a flyer, identical to the one Maria held when she left home, scorched but legible. It was partially blood-stained. Soil samples taken near one of the fire pits tested positive for degraded human DNA. Though inconclusive for identity, it confirmed human remains had been destroyed there. Pressure mounted on federal prosecutors to reclassify the case from missing person to homicide. Yet, the burden of proof remained elusive. The legal system hesitated, demanding more definitive links. Meanwhile, the cyber team identified the anonymous user who uploaded the sneaker photo. Their IP address pinged from a terminal inside a now-defunct outpatient clinic in Salta, a facility cited previously in whistleblower reports for operating under falsified licenses. Its alleged owner? Dr. Hernan Vizcaya, a cosmetic surgeon with a suspended medical license and rumored ties to trafficking rings. Investigators pivoted. Surveillance on Vizcaya revealed a pattern: monthly trips to northern provinces, irregular bank deposits, and contact with at least 3 individuals linked to other unresolved disappearances. Undercover agents planted inside his clinic obtained a confidential client ledger, containing a name written in shorthand, MC, April 2011. Cross-referenced with her known timeline, this placed Maria in Vizcaya's system post-disappearance. Interpol issued a formal request for Vizcaya's arrest, but he had vanished. He fled days before the warrant was processed, last spotted boarding a private charter bound for Paraguay. His exit marked a turning point in the investigation. Argentine authorities launched a full-scale cross-border collaboration, but Vizcaya's trail went cold in the border town of Ciudad del Este, a known haven for black market operatives. Simultaneously, Maria's family pursued a civil case against the Buenos Aires police for gross negligence. Depositions revealed critical delays. Phone metadata had been available within 48 hours of her disappearance but went unprocessed for over a week. Uber logs confirming her route had been incomplete due to an API error not followed up by local tech investigators. A whistleblower from inside the Domestic and Gender Violence Unit testified anonymously, stating that multiple leads had been shut down for political convenience during an election cycle. As public outrage resurfaced, citizen investigators uncovered a disturbing correlation. 4 other women had vanished under similar circumstances over the previous 5 years, each last seen heading to cosmetic consultations, each case quietly shelved due to insufficient evidence. Media pressure surged. Hashtags trended. Major networks aired documentaries. For a moment, Argentina looked again into the eyes of the girl whose last selfie remained etched in the nation's memory. That haunting image, Maria, backlit by the soft blue glow of daylight, her expression halfway between anxiety and hope, became a symbol for every family waiting on answers. Then, a breakthrough. A forensic technician reviewing backups from confiscated devices flagged a deleted voice memo. It originated from a burner phone connected to one of Vizcaya's assistants. Forensic enhancement revealed faint breathing, ambient noise, and a whispered phrase in Spanish, "Ella no puede hablar." Translation: she cannot speak. This prompted investigators to return to the farmhouse site, now treated as a primary crime scene. Ground-penetrating radar revealed a shallow grave beneath the barn. Inside was a plastic container with personal belongings, a torn scarf, fragments of a SIM card, a small journal with only one legible page remaining. The handwriting matched Maria's. The final sentence read, "I don't know where I am, but I think they lied." DNA confirmation on the scarf verified it had belonged to Maria Cash. This was no longer a question of what happened, but who orchestrated it. Investigators constructed a timeline implicating at least 6 people, each playing roles in her abduction, concealment, or silence. The connection among them? All had ties to unregulated cosmetic practices, suggesting a wider network exploiting women seeking elective procedures. What started as a single disappearance now pointed to systemic exploitation. Pressure from international human rights organizations forced Argentina to form a special investigative commission. A classified report was leaked, revealing the existence of ghost clinics, underground facilities moving from province to province, using fake credentials, bribing local officials, and erasing digital footprints. One of the report's redacted paragraphs mentioned a secondary site potentially tied to Maria's last movements, an abandoned orphanage in the outskirts of Tucumán. The commission dispatched an elite unit to the site in May 2025. What they discovered sent shockwaves through the team. Hidden in the basement beneath layers of drywall was a series of makeshift holding cells. Surveillance wiring fed into a now-destroyed terminal. Faint scratch marks were found on the inside of one metal door, forming the initials MC. It was not just a storage site, it was a temporary detainment hub. The final twist came when investigators traced a financial trail linking Vizcaya to a powerful businessman with political connections. These transactions dated back years and coincided with each period when evidence in the case went missing. The implication was staggering. Maria's disappearance may have been protected, covered, or even ordered by individuals with influence far beyond street-level criminality. But just as the commission prepared a coordinated arrest sweep, the unthinkable happened. The entire forensic database housing the Maria Cash files suffered a catastrophic breach. Malware wiped backup servers. Field devices went offline. Encrypted case notes disappeared. Investigators suspect it was an inside job, sophisticated, timed, and surgical. All momentum halted. Once again, silence returned. And then, a message. Sent to Maria's mother from a secure, untraceable email. No subject. No greeting. Just 5 words. She is still out there. Then a photo was discovered on the deep web forum that ignited a firestorm within Argentina's cybercrime task force. Analysts confirmed the metadata embedded in the image was authentic, a red canvas sneaker on cracked soil, timestamped April 23, 2011, 18 days after Maria Cash's disappearance. The GPS coordinates traced back to a remote estancia in the western province of La Pampa, where surveillance was practically non-existent and miles of barbed wire divided the wilderness from what authorities feared could be a clandestine holding site. Digital forensics experts enhanced the photo, revealing a blurred figure in the background, lean, slouched, possibly female. Speculation exploded. Could this be Maria? Was she being held against her will, trafficked into the countryside while the city focused its search on bus stations and phone vendors? Investigators moved swiftly but carefully. The property's owners were politically connected cattle barons with ties to provincial police, powerful men with leverage. The search warrant took 3 weeks to approve. When federal agents finally breached the gates, the scene was sterile. No trace of Maria. No sneaker. No tarp. No blood. Just dried grass, a fire pit, and inside the main house, a locked basement with concrete walls and metallic restraints. Forensics lifted fingerprints, but none matched Maria's. The only lead recovered was a single eyelash on the edge of a rusted sink, later determined to belong to a woman, but mitochondrial DNA analysis couldn't confirm identity. No one was arrested. The owners claimed ignorance. They insisted the forum post was fabricated, that hackers were targeting them for political reasons. But suspicion lingered. By mid-2013, momentum waned. The media cycle moved on. Political coverage drowned out Maria's face on nightly broadcasts. Her family was left to fund their own search campaigns, handing out flyers, launching public appeals, hiring private cyber investigators. One anonymous tip pointed to a plastic surgery ring operating between Argentina and Paraguay. In one interview, a whistleblower described a network of trafficked women, their identities erased through facial reconstruction, then sold into domestic servitude under new names and false passports. The story matched Maria's last known plan, a plastic surgery consultation, and reignited public outrage. Could Maria have been medically altered against her will, reinserted into society under a new face? Interpol's Argentina desk began tracing medical licenses tied to unregistered clinics. One name surfaced repeatedly, Dr. Luis Tormel, a disgraced physician whose license had been revoked in 2009 for unapproved procedures. He operated under aliases and was last seen near Salta province. When agents raided an underground clinic in Oran, they found burned documents, emptied medicine cabinets, and a secret photo wall, a grid of images of women in various stages of surgery and healing. One image, dated April 12, 2011, showed a woman mid-recovery. Her eyes were swollen, her nose restructured, but her ears, unmodified, were unmistakable to her family. It was Maria. Forensic facial comparison confirmed with 92% certainty. But the evidence chain broke again. The photo was undated by the device. Metadata had been scrubbed. The clinic's CCTV was destroyed. Dr. Tormel had vanished. A new theory formed. Maria Cash had been abducted and surgically altered to obscure her identity, possibly for relocation or forced labor. Experts warned it would be nearly impossible to track her without knowing her new appearance. Facial recognition software relied on unmodified bone structure. If that structure had been tampered with, AI systems would fail. Authorities updated their notices with enhanced age-progressed images and began surveilling border crossings using gait recognition instead. In 2014, a major twist changed everything. A journalist embedded within Paraguay's trafficking underworld smuggled out a video, a group of women seated in silence, wearing identical robes, heads bowed. The footage was grainy, filmed from behind a fence. But frame-by-frame analysis revealed one woman turning her head slightly. Her ear shape and mole pattern aligned perfectly with Maria's. The video was traced to a private rehabilitation facility in Encarnacion, registered as a mental health center, but unlicensed. It catered exclusively to foreign women. A raid was organized. By the time authorities arrived, the compound had been evacuated. Beds were stripped. Files incinerated. But one nurse remained. She was arrested and interrogated. Through tears, she claimed that women were brought in, medicated, renamed, and trained to obey. She remembered one woman, quiet, scarred, often crying in the garden, who called herself Leah. The description matched Maria's pre-surgery appearance. Leah, the nurse said, once told me she used to study psychology, and that she had a red pair of sneakers she missed. The world reeled. For a brief moment, hope eclipsed despair. Maria was alive. Or had been. But just as quickly, she was gone again, buried beneath layers of alias, trauma, and flight. The trail was smoldering, but not extinguished. What do you think really happened to María Cash? Was it a planned abduction or a tragic mistake? Do you believe someone close to her was involved, or was it the work of a stranger hiding in plain sight? With the red sneaker appearing weeks later, was that a breadcrumb or a planted distraction? Analyze this case in the comment section, like this video, and please subscribe to this channel for more international chilling true crime stories. Global Crime Drops returns with episode 2, where we follow the covert network that erased Maria's identity, and how whistleblowers from within may finally lead us to the truth. See you in the next episode. Stay safe.